Well, hey everybody, welcome to our Wednesday webinar series, using Pearl certification to bridge the gap between home energy and value. You want to see greener and better homes, get instant access to all of our courses and discounts on green building certifications, as well as support our mission. Go to greenhomeinstitute.org, click Become a Member, and check that out. This course here is approved for 1 hour in continuing education units, GBCI, AIBD, NARI Green, Certified GreenHome Professional, BPI NonWholeHouse, as well as AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety, which may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. We're very thankful for this session sponsor, Panasonic. Panasonic is your #1 source for ventilation needs in new and existing homes and buildings. Panasonic features many different products to ventilate bathrooms right, or for exhaust only, whole house strategies including more affordable solutions, motion sensors, timers, condensation sensors, and energy recovery ventilators. The IntelliBalance 100 is the International Builder Show 2017 Best of Award winner, a customizable high-performance, high-efficiency energy recovery ventilator that can be used in any climate to meet ASHRAE 62.2. Picketflow Fleet selectors 50 to 100 CFM provide truly customizable airflow, balance, positive or negative pressure. Connect it to an existing ductwork or use it as a standalone whole house ventilation solution. MERV 8 filters included with an optional upgrade to 13 if desired, and that includes exchange, capillary core recovery, heat, energy, and moisture removal. Looking for a cheaper balanced ventilation strategy? Pair a Whisper Green bath fan with a select cycler to bring in air through the furnace intake and exhaust it right out to the bath fan. Throw in a range hood pressure sensor to activate the system when makeup air is needed during cooking. Make sure to check out Home Living Solutions Ventilation Indoor Air Quality from Panasonic today. All right, so real excited to get started here. My name is Brett Little. I'm the Executive Director at the nonprofit, the GreenHome Institute, and I will be your moderator today. During this course, we're going to be asking how do we increase the value to justify home energy improvements. At the end of the day, the building science is there, the technology is there, the programs are there, the rebates are there, but the issue is value, right? That's a huge impediment to moving the millions of existing homes we have from wasting energy and hemorrhaging money out of the local economy to moving them forward and getting energy efficiency going. So anything we can do to figure out this value proposition is really exciting to us and to me. And so that's why I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Cynthia Adams. Before co-founding Pearl, Cynthia served as the Executive Director of the Local Alliance Energy Program, LEAP, an award-winning nonprofit organization based in Charlottesville, Virginia, that helps thousands of Virginia homeowners improve the energy efficiency, health, and comfort of their homes. Cynthia also helped found and is past chair of the Virginia Energy Efficiency Council, a nonprofit industry organization that promotes energy efficiency throughout the state. She was appointed by the governor in 2013 to the Virginia Energy Council and to the governor's executive committee on energy efficiency in 2014. She was also elected to the National Governance Board of Efficiency First. Cynthia previously served as co-founder of Stone Metal Wood, a design-build construction firm that built energy-efficient green homes in McCall, Idaho. And she has a master's in English from Virginia Polytechnic University, and in the previous life taught American literature and business writing at JMU and Virginia Tech. So, Cynthia, we're real excited to have you here with us today, and please take it away.
Thanks so much, Brett. I appreciate that. I have to say I have a little bit of embarrassment listening to the list of stuff that I've done. I guess a short way to summarize it is that I care an awful lot about energy efficiency and renewable energy, and I've spent enough time out in the wilds of our beautiful West to know that everything's taking a bit of a hit with climate change, and really want to do my part in my professional life as well as my personal life to mitigate that. So as we jump into information about Pearl and this business, I guess I would just share with those of you that are in this business, and my passion is really about being a part of a solution to a problem that is affecting us all. So with that in mind, we'll begin with this idea that Pearl is really here to make contractors' value visible in our nation's homes. And I think all of us as practitioners, builders, subcontractors, architects, designers, have all played a really critical role in educating the consumer on how to get the quality of life benefits that people want, whether that's better indoor air quality or comfort or convenience or efficiency and lower bills. People understand that these things as adjectives and nouns are good for them, but what they don't understand is how do I go about getting that in terms of a house. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done there. And part of the problem, of course, is that in order to get these benefits, the kinds of features homes have to have are often not the blingy types. They're not, as we often say, the granite countertops or the wide plank hardwood flooring or other things that consumers get, heart eyes over. So it's a bit of a hill, and we all, I think, industry-wide also hope to be able to leverage some lessons learned from the market crash, really, on what happened with home value and people's sensitivity to that now, and how to create both a high-performing home and then the ROI that comes with it as a way of getting consumers engaged, helping to educate them, and of course, furthering our own professions. So with Pearl certification, let's see here, we're setting ourselves a high bar, and our goal really is to become a national leader in home performance certifications. And the way that we do that is by looking at energy assets within a house, both energy efficient and renewable energy assets. And you see here on the screen some examples of those, everything from insulation to smart thermostats to water heaters, battery storage, et cetera. And the supposition here is that by calling out these features, properly representing them in the multiple listing service and marketing them to buyers, that there's a home value increase that goes along with that. And in our early pilot markets in Virginia, we commissioned a third-party appraiser study written by Sandra Adamatis, and who tapped local appraisers and then even had the study reviewed by another appraiser in the industry, to do a paired sales analysis of Pearl certified homes in the real estate market. And was there, in fact, a boost to the value of those homes based upon the certification and the marketing and other things that we provided? And the answer was yes. When the houses were marketed properly, the seller saw a 5% premium having that certification. And again, underscoring that what the certification does is it makes the features, the efficiency ratings, and other things visible in the real estate transaction, and also provides the agents with marketing tools so that they don't have to turn into translators on these particular ratings to, value benefit that help to establish that visible value. But this study basically, it resonates with other studies that we've seen nationwide that have looked at primarily certification scores and labels on new homes. So what was different about this study for us is that these were existing homes coming back into the market. They weren't by and large new construction. So one of the things that we thought was very important for our approach for the certification is that we wanted to partner with some very respected names in the industry, because we understand that there's an ecosystem at work here, and that ecosystem includes the National Association of Realtors, it includes the Appraisal Institute, it includes contractor trade organizations like BPI, and a host of others. And really, in understanding that you have the homeowner in the middle of this transaction, but you have agents and contractors and builders and lenders and others who are all tied into the home in some form or fashion. And each of those parties needs a particular kind of information about that house presented in a particular way in order to do their job well. And so really one of the things that we're seeking to do is to create almost a data standard for high-performing homes, and be able to translate that data, again, into the right format for the right people at the right time so that we can surface this value for homeowners. Let's see. We've partnered with both federal and nonprofit rating systems, and again, in this effort to build kind of a national standard for high-performing data. And we have a software system that's Home Performance XML compliant, and so we are able to also translate data that our Pearl network contractors put into our system to generate a home energy score. We can do that right out of our software. And we've also recently partnered with ResNet to Pearl certify a chunk of their 2 million existing HERS-rated homes. Many of you know that these HERS-rated homes were done by builders, oftentimes in conjunction with third-party certifications like Energy Star for new homes or Earthcraft or others. And oftentimes the homes never actually went into the multiple listing service. They were sold through the builder's agents or the builder's sales offices. And so a whole host of data about these properties is not actually out there in the market. And what we've seen over and over again in our dealings with real estate agents and sellers is that this information is not, in fact, making its way back into the multiple listing service on these HERS-rated homes. Sometimes the homeowner has a certificate with a number on it that they got from the builder. Oftentimes they have nothing because the builder just, they marketed the home with the HERS rating and may have sampled it or actually rated it, but nothing, after the house was sold, nothing was provided then to the buyer. So we're losing this data, and Pearl is excited to partner with ResNet to make this data, again, visible as these homes are making their way back into the market. And we think of ourselves in a sense as a living home profile. So if a home has another score, certification, or rating, we surface that in our certification report, including the version of the certification or label, who did the third-party verification for it, when it was issued, et cetera. Because particularly in new construction, these labels and certifications are assets, particularly for the buy-side client. So we don't compete with other score certifications or labels. What we really want to do is get as much data as we can about that home, both in terms of its features as well as how those features might be rolled up into a third-party verification, and then surface that again in the resale transaction. So taking a step back here, this is one of the things we talked oftentimes to agents about, and this is obviously preaching to the choir here, but how we build homes has fundamentally changed. I used to work as a general contractor back before the market crashed in 2008, and our company, Stone Metal Wood, was definitely at the leading, and sometimes it felt like bleeding edge, of construction practices in a resort community in Idaho. And things that we did back then, which were very novel, are now commonplace or required by code. We have energy code compliance now in most states. We have in many areas state and local ordinances that are tied to municipality sustainability goals that put additional requirements on builders or trade contractors. And then, of course, we have game-changing technologies like smart thermostats and solar that give consumers visibility into the performance of their home in a way that they've never had before. And so, whereas, a decade or more ago, we may have spoke about building performance and been able to point to things like blower door tests and duct blasters and things like that as a way of measuring performance. Now our technologies are allowing consumers their own visibility into that performance with or without a professional standing next to them. And yet, these home performance attributes are often poorly understood and not featured in the real estate transaction. Now, we know from surveys both from National Association of Realtors and the National Association of Home Builders that buyers do want performance, and they are willing to pay more for it. And of course, you talk to any seller who's made upgrades to their home or maybe built their home to a higher standard to begin with, and I'm sure that seller is going to tell you they'd love to see a return on investment. Everybody wants to get as much as they can for their home when they put it into the market. So we have this nexus of both interest and attributes, efficiency, indoor air quality, comfort, and sustainability. And yet, because these features are not being properly displayed in the real estate transaction, consumers left something like $12 billion plus in uncaptured home value at the closing table. So the disconnect here is really around getting accurate verified data on home performance features into the real estate transaction. And I've sort of hammered this home. Listing agents, by and large, don't have the technical knowledge to be able to see these features in the home. And they're very reticent about having disclosure issues. They would rather leave information out than be sued for putting the wrong information in. And appraisers are not home inspectors. They are not coming to the property to uncover good or bad issues with the home. By and large, if they can't find the MLS data that they need to do their contributory value calculations, then they're not going to invent it out of full cloth. They need someone to provide them with that. And, you know, traditionally, in the energy efficiency industry in particular, we've had a number of great studies that have come out from organizations like C&T Energy, is now Elevate Energy, and there were a number of studies funded through the ARA Better Buildings program that looked at how do we unlock the value of the energy efficient home in the real estate transaction. And the thinking then was what we really need is more data, and I've talked about that. Yes, we do need more data. We need verified data in the multiple listing service. But there's a problem here that data is really not the whole solution, given that the folks that need to engage with this data are really the real estate agents. So while we may have recommended that we need to document efficiency features, we need standardized methods to do that, like HPXML, we want to disclose these inventories, we want to ensure the data makes it into the MLS, et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of read through this word-heavy list of things that were recommended out of these studies. We've not found a tremendous amount of success just by creating the tool set, because the prime mover in all of this, again, is the real estate agent, specifically the listing agent, who is seen as the trusted advisor and the curator of the customer experience. And agents provide several things during the home sale transaction, and when you look at it from the client side, that is the sellers and the buyers, 60% say that the agent's role is really to help them understand the process, and 55% say the agent's role is to help point out unnoticed features, and 48% say the agent's role is to negotiate better terms. So the good news in looking at these stats, which come from NAR, is that what Pearl is bringing to the table and this concept of making value visible really feeds into all of the things that the clients, the home buyers and sellers expect from agents. The problem is that the agent is not a subject matter expert and is going to be hard pressed to do any of this around our energy efficient and renewable energy homes. So from the energy efficiency community, perhaps what we assumed that agents wanted was, you know, data standards and a completed appraisal addendum and, you know, a certificate with all of the efficiency features listed on it. But what agents really want is sold. They just want to sell stuff. They don't necessarily want to be the curators of data. They want to be the curators of an experience that gets houses sold and gets them more listings. So in a sense, what agents really want and need is marketing. They need something that helps them showcase the home, something that makes them look good, because that's the value proposition to them, because ultimately what they're in it for is successful business. They want to grow their business. And it would be great if all of us were in the mindset of, I just want to do the right thing by the consumer no matter what. But the simple fact of the matter is that's not the way that most folks in business work. There has to be a solid business value to them as well in order to engage in whatever hassle is needed to do something different, and to potentially incur an expense in doing something different in order to do the right thing by your client. So again, to hammer this home, from what we've learned at Pearl and what we've incorporated then into our system is that the real solution for this problem of making value visible is not just around data, but it's also around marketing. We have to showcase the home, we have to engage and educate buyers in a language that we understand, and importantly, we have to help make the agent look good if we really want to get them engaged. So here's, again, kind of our approach to uncover hidden value. Yes, for buyers, we want to help them see performance through a third-party validation. We want to give them data-driven confidence in making their purchasing decisions. And we want to give them an asset score that can help them compare homes that they're looking at. And for the sellers, we want to make this data visible through an asset registry. We want to provide the high-performing home certification that gives buyers this data-driven confidence. And then we also include appraisal and MLS listing reports, which I'll talk more about, that really help the agent do their job. One of the other interesting things that we are engaged with in Pearl certification is what we think of as a virtuous cycle between agents and contractors and homeowners. I think all of us in the industry recognize that real estate brokers and their agents have a very large customer base, and every year they do so many sides to the buy-side clients who are going to make improvements in the homes, you know, probably the bulk of them in the first year that they move in. And contractors would love to have an opportunity to bid on those jobs, educate the consumer on what the right thing is to do. And then similarly, contractors are in houses every day, and typically one of the first things that they'll ask a homeowner is, are you planning on selling your house anytime in the next year or so? Because usually that helps them bucket a customer in, I'm not willing to spend a lot of money on someone else's behalf because I'm about to sell the home, or yeah, I'm going to be here for a while and I'd be willing to consider an upgrade. Pearl certification helps them flip that conversation by saying, hey, we can solve your problem and certify this asset or this home, and when you do sell your house in a year, that's going to help you sell it for more potentially and sell it quicker. So in the center of this conversation of, you know, lead and consumer engagement is Pearl certification, which is really benefiting the homeowner. Ultimately, the homeowner is the one that sees the value, but the homeowner is also the one that needs to engage with an agent who knows how to sell a high-performing home, and a contractor who will provide them with credible information on how to get a high-performing home. So we're deliberately in pilots in different areas that we are working right now, creating relationships between our broker customers and our contractor customers to help drive customers, their respective customers to each other. But again, with the goal of helping the homeowner get good quality work done and a competent agent who can help them reap the benefits of having made these home improvement investments. So here's how it works for contractors. They subscribe to Pearl's network to certify their work, and I will add that we have a builder vertical as well. So builders can enroll in our program, and we can create an individual Pearl certification or a combined Pearl certification and HERS rating, or a combined Pearl certification and home energy score, depending upon what the builder's interests are. But we do have a program for builders as well. But in this particular slide, it's more remodel or subcontractor focused. And in this instance, the contractor would get a sales call from a consumer. The contractor would go to the homeowner's house. They would represent that they're a member of the Pearl network, and as a part of how they do business, they third-party certify all of their work. And when the installation is complete, the homeowner will receive from Pearl certification both a certification report as well as a completed appraisal addendum for that particular improvement, or other improvements that may have already been made if the contractor's collecting data on that as well. So we have another product called the Home Investment Plan I'll speak about later that the contractor can use to help upsell or remarket to their past customers. Again, we issue the certification and report and addendum when the work is complete, and then the customer is able to capture that value. Basically, the Pearl certification network contractors are seeing an ability to increase close rates, engage with customers in a sticky product through the home investment plan that allows them to stage improvements potentially over time, so they have a reason to go back and talk to that homeowner. So again, kind of accessing these remarketing opportunities. And then we're working to facilitate lead gen between contractor trades within a market area, and then between the real estate brokers and the contractors with whom we work. Just a quick screen capture of our certification app. We've tried to make it as dirt simple as possible for contractors to engage with so that it's not a science exercise. Science meaning, yes, we have building science behind what we do, but not rocket science as in you need to be an engineer to use our tool. Contractors can upload photos, which are then dropped into the reports. We take all of the efficiency data that is entered into our certification system and then translate that into consumer-facing language in the report. And let's see. So here's a quick screenshot of one of our high-performing home certification reports. It is co-branded with the Contractors logo in the contractor space. In the real estate transaction, we work with HERS raters in order to do those particular reports. And we essentially have subcontracted this work out with HERS raters like PEG Environmental, who cover multi-states worth of business for us. And the value add here is that agents aren't looking to upsell a customer on making home improvements when the customer is putting their house into the market. So we're really just trying in that instance to showcase the high performing features. We're not there to do an energy audit with a work scope. So the certification report to that end will include details about the installation, including a photograph of the asset in place and then the efficiency ratings that are relevant to that feature. But we also have data that we've worked with the DOE and the National Renewable Energy Lab to bring into our system that allows us to compare at the feature level how awesome this particular feature is. So the example here in this report, if you can read it, is that attic insulation is in the top 9% of Virginia homes. So for all of our certification reports, we have that, we present that comparable information at the feature level data to give homeowners a sense of, well, how special is it? And then we translate that feature's specialness into quality of life benefits in the report. And we do that for every special feature in the home, so that includes appliances and filtration and lighting, as well as some of the more obvious stuff like building shell and heating and cooling. The details that we provide for the early adopter consumer geeks are also really important for the appraisal addendum, because all of this, as we call tech spec information, is captured in the appraisal addendum as well. And this certification report accompanies the appraisal addendum and the real estate transaction. Agents get it all this information as a PDF and as well as a hard copy. Typically, when the house goes under contract, what they're doing is they're sending this information over to the buy-side agent, but they have also already uploaded this information into the document section of the MLS. So when an appraiser goes in to look at the listing, the data is there as well. We have a separate solar certification report, which we're pretty excited about. It includes information on the inverter. If the house has battery storage or PV charging station or things like that, we would include that information in the report. And we include information about details on installation and product quality. One of the things that we've learned in working with real estate agents as well is that, okay, so we have two different kinds of systems, broadly speaking, those that are owned and those that are financed, or those that are you know, subject to a power purchase agreement. And as these houses are coming back into the market, there's a lot of confusion over the ownership of the system, the quality of the system, what's involved in terms of warranties and things like that. And so we want to help facilitate an easy transaction, and again, you know, taking this critical information and making it visible to the right players at the right time. I've heard a couple of horror stories about agents recommending to buyers that they, not buyers, excuse me, sellers, that they just take the system off the roof of the house if they're going to sell their home because they don't want there to be any problems when the house is going under contract, which, you know, for those of us who are attuned to the issues with climate change, that's a pretty astounding story and scary. So we'd like to help with that particular set of issues, and we think the issue is really can be solved by helping agents and buyers really understand what's involved with the system, the good features of it, and how the ownership kind of factors in to this particular transaction. I've mentioned the appraisal addendum a couple of times. It's the Appraisal Institute's Green and Energy Efficient Appraisal Addendum. We do have a licensing agreement with AI to be able to complete this addendum as a third party on behalf of the home seller. and this accompanies every one of our reports. So the next slide here, we're looking at a screenshot of Pearl's home investment plan. So when a contractor enrolls in our certification, well, in our network, there's a $199 monthly network fee that gives them access to the software, allows them to create an unlimited number of home investment plans for their clients as they're selling. And it also gives them access to a lot of co-branded materials that they can use for marketing purposes. So I'll just mention a couple of highlights on the home investment plan. It does tie packages of improvements to levels of certification, and the contractor can set these packages up within the system based upon things that maybe they typically sell. And then Pearl does provide educational information about the value of these different features to the consumer. And there's some DIY stuff towards the back, some information about the value of working with a network contractor, et cetera. Contractors so far have been very excited about this as a sales tool and a remarketing tool. We will be adapting this product for a pilot that we expect to do with NYSERDA, launching hopefully in Q4 of this year. So the adaptation of this product will be for the home inspector, where we'll be providing sort of a comprehensive set of suggestions, sort of whole house, not necessarily trade specific, based upon the age of the property and the age of some of the systems as represented by the home inspector. So this would be just additional information for the buyer. We do try to be very careful in our language, not to guilt anybody with our word choice. We do, hey, if the house was built in 1950, it probably has a lot of really great attributes to it, from its hardwood flooring to its built-ins, but it may not be energy efficient. We've learned a lot in our construction practices, even from the 80s and 90s and beyond. So let's talk about how we get the high-performing home that we all want and love, and in the same time accrue value to our properties. And that's the approach that we've taken with our language in all of our consumer-facing reports. So with the real estate transaction, it's a little bit different. We have agents pre-qualify a home through an app that we have called Certify My Home that's available in iTunes or in your Google Play stores. The app is free for agents to use. And it asks them, it provides them with a structured question list, and then based upon the answers that they get to those questions, we can pre-qualify a home for certification. The idea being here that nobody wants to pay for a certification that their house isn't going to achieve, so we don't want to roll a truck with one of our certification partners out to the property until we know that it's a good candidate and there is some value here to be made visible. So the HERS rater would collect that information about the data efficiency, then request certification, and we would issue the certification report, addendum, and a bunch of other stuff I'm going to cover here in a moment, to the contact person for that home. So typically that's the listing agent. Typically the listing agent is paying for this, and they're using it as a way to help close on the listing, where they might say to the consumer or to the seller, if you list with me and your house qualifies for certification, I'll pay for the certification as a part of the marketing that I'm going to bring to your property. So I mentioned the app, and I mentioned the 7 simple questions. Once the agent requests certification through the app, that request goes to our certification partner like PEG Environmental, whose dispatch would then contact the agent and set the visit up from there. So these are some of the 7 questions that we ask. We look at insulation, we ask about air sealing, heating and cooling, and water heating. The reports that come to the agent include this MLS listing report, which is custom for that particular location. So we tell the agent what specific features have been verified in the home. So when they go into their local MLS, they're just going to go into the category like appliances, and then they would be able to check off all of these features because we verified them in the home. That verification is then also backed up in the appraisal addendum that comes with the certification report. This is been very helpful for agents. We have all kinds of anecdotal stories where agents have really needed this certification in the addendum to help the house appraise out. In fact, in our study that showed the 5% premium for Pearl certified homes, Don Boucher, one of the appraisers that worked on that, has used in a number of appraiser presentations later a paired sales analysis of a home that had a $30,000 premium. It was a remodel from like a 1970s home, and he was able to find comparable homes in the similar neighborhood of the same model, and able to definitively demonstrate that the Pearl certification and all of these additional documentation and the marketing is what helped that house sell for more and appraise. So this is some of the marketing that we provide. One of them is a sort of a one-sheet overview. This particular page is a screenshot from our certification report, but top-level information about the home and how that home compares to others in the broader market. The marketing packages for the agents includes JPEGs of the certification report and social media posts that they can use. It includes a one-sheet overview with our URL to our registry in it. So agents print up a whole bunch of these when they do open houses, or just to leave in the home so that as buyers come through with their agents, they can grab one and take it with them. And then we give them a home asset tour card set. So I know a lot of builders and more of your professionals on the real estate side that really want to do their best to market homes will create home tours, and I think that's great. We do it as well automatically out of our system, and when we send the hard copy reports to the agent or the homeowner or the builder, this kind of information accompanies it as well. So these tour cards come printed, pre-cut on cardstock for someone to hang up. And for some builders, we've also created 3D virtual home tours. So these bits of information on particular features in the house become info points within the virtual tour. So a consumer, as they do that 3D tour, can click on the info points and then have information about that feature pop up. So both online and sort of in person through hard copy print materials, we take this information about the house and translate it into buyer benefits for the agent. So it's not yet another bit of work that the agent has to do. We really give them a turnkey solution to being able to list the home properly, price the home properly, and then market that home, effectively making them look good, selling these homes for more and better, improving their customer relationships, and getting them engaged. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our certification system because I'm sure that some of you on this webinar may be curious to know about it. We do have an asset-based approach. It works for new and existing homes. We are not creating an energy use intensity type score. We're not trying to predict utility bills. We do support and, as I say, surface other types of energy scores and ratings. We think that information is important. It's just not a part of what our certification system has set out to do in terms of reinventing that wheel. We do provide investment grade documentation to increase and retain home value, and as I mentioned, we think of ourselves as an Uber certification to verify information on any other score certification earned by an existing home. We do have a building science-based system. We have been approved for use in the Energy Star for Existing Homes program, Home Performance with Energy Star. Qualifying assets include not only the heating and cooling units and the distribution system, but we give additional points for quality install. So we look for documentation on that as well, and those points are substantive. Same thing for insulation, resident rating for install there, blower door test for performance, water heating, lighting, solar, I've mentioned, appliances, windows, and other smart home features are all a part of what we look at. We break the home into 4 high-performing asset categories, so building shell, heating and cooling, base load, and then home management. Under home management, we also include our home investment plan because we think it's very important for the existing homes market to have a path, a roadmap, essentially, for how do I get a high-performing home. You can't fix what you don't know about, right? So not only do we include commissioning type devices like HVAC controls and monitoring, or say lighting controls, but this educational component falls under our home management. And then we have a separate solar certification for renewable energy type features. The certification system is climate zone specific. So the climate zone drives both the number of points available in an asset category and the number of points available for individual assets. So just to give you a quick sample here of how that shakes out. So for Charlottesville, Virginia, Central Virginia, we have basically a kind of an even sort of more even amount of points as they are assigned to different asset categories versus in a climate zone like Ithaca, New York, where heating, is a much more important component of a house's energy makeup, similarly with building shells. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all, obviously. It's going to be climate zone specific. We do have certification tiers. So while we award points based upon individual asset features, silver, gold, platinum is kind of like the credit card systems and others that we're familiar with. This is how we set it up. A silver certification basically is a home with IECC 2015 building shell or Energy Star heating and cooling systems. A gold home would have both of those things, and then a platinum home would have both of those things plus efficient base load and other smart devices. Now, this is not a prescriptive system, so a builder or a home improvement contractor, remodeler, homeowner can kind of mix and match within different features. As long as you hit the points threshold, you can earn that level of certification, with the following caveat that a gold certification does require a blower door test, and a platinum certification does require duct testing. We are looking at badging our system. We are going to be building out other kinds of ratings attached to home features. So the solar certification we've already completed. That product is in the market. We are looking at one for resiliency as tied to climate impacts for homes in certain geographical locations. We're keenly interested in a healthy home certification. We're also keenly interested in not reinventing the wheel there, so we will be doing outreach to various entities that have already been working in this sector for a while. Water efficiency is another thing on the roadmap. Verified energy performance, so looking at utility bills, weather normalizing them, and then seeing how the house compares for a performance certification is of interest to us. And we know that there are certain markets like California where utility rebates are moving towards a paid for performance regime. And we're interested in seeing how we can facilitate that. And then we have contractors that are interested in electrification, and how do we give a homeowner a plan to get off fossil fuels and get to something that looks like net zero. Just a quickie label and score comparison. So the value proposition for any GreenHome certs and for HERS and Home Energy Score would be, we want to give consumers a credible system to support or increase the value of that home by giving people confidence in the home's performance. These different systems, including Pearl, may certify the efficiency, the renewables, the indoor air quality, et cetera, of the homes. I think we look at ourselves as being more comprehensive in that respect, and again, working with new and existing homes is something that we seek to do, as well as the score certifications and labels. And I just want to say I have, both as a one-time lead AP and a green builder, tremendous respect for those who blaze the trail in these buildings, in green buildings, whether it's the U.S. Green Building Council or ResNet or the Building Performance Institute and others, both with contractor training and then these scores and certifications. We wouldn't be where we are today if others hadn't taken those really hard steps to educate consumers and our construction community. So hats off to everyone, and as much as we can help support these systems as well by making their value visible in the real estate transaction, we're here to do that. And one of the ways that we do that is digital and print marketing, and then through the appraisal addendum. So quickly, just where is Pearl now? We've working with a number of signed contractors, most of them good sized in a bunch of different states and different brokerages, most of them very large brokerages in a number of different states. We're growing our network, weekly, both in terms of contractors and brokers. We got into the market for real, I would say, in January of 2018. So we have been doing beta testing, growing our partnerships, and kind of foundational work there with NAR and others in the prior years when we were doing our pilots. But we're interested in working with contractors and builders in any market in the U.S. right now, and are happy to bring our real estate connections to the table in that as well. I will mention that we were in NAR's Real Estate Technology Accelerator class, which was a special thing for us in 2017. We were one of 9 companies selected out of several hundred who applied. And because NAR actually owns a piece of our company, we have a very strong relationship with both the National Association and then a tie into the local associations and to brokers. So we think that that's kind of part of our special sauce that we bring to the table. So just to close out here, in their own words, our value proposition. So Allied Energy, working in New Jersey, they're a home performance HVAC contractor, and in the words of John Kane, we're not just closing with Pearl, we're opening the door with Pearl. We're an integral part of Allied's consumer engagement at the very front end, and we're excited to help them grow their business. We have recently launched with HomeSmart International in the Phoenix market. This is a brokerage that has 6,500 agents, did 22,000 transactions last year, and they're excited about our ability to bring value for their agents and for their homes. And then finally, from Josh Goldsmith, who runs a production build firm called Eagle Construction in Richmond, Virginia, Pearl not only provides a home certification, but also documentation of the value we add. So Eagle Homes has integrated us into their marketing. If you go to their website online, you'll see we have like a whole page on Pearl and the value, and they really like that independent certification, and we combine that with a HERS rating, by the way, for all of their homes. So I've put on here, obviously, our website. Bethany is our VP of Contractor Sales, so if you are interested in working with Pearl and learning more about how we can improve or add value to your customers, feel free to contact Bethany. She's going to be the right person with Pearl certification. And I'll just pause here if anyone has any questions. And thank you.
Hey, great, Cynthia. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, we got plenty of time here for questions, and as those questions are rolling in, before we get to those, just a huge thanks to all of our sponsors and our top-tier sponsors, Shrinergy, On the Go, and In Your Home, Microgrid Backup Battery Solutions, T-Stud, the world's most energy-efficient wall stud assembly, structurally insulated framing systems, and Mitsubishi Electric. Take your projects to all electric, new and existing, through Mitsubishi heat pumps. Big thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of you, our board of directors, our members. We couldn't do it without you. So yeah, we got plenty of time for questions here, and I'm seeing if a few are coming in, and as I'm waiting for those to come in here real quick, I'm going to go ahead, and I've got a few myself. And I think one of the big ones, and maybe I missed this, but what are some of the certification fees, Cynthia?
Oh, good question, Brett. So the certification fees from the real estate transaction side, if I'm an agent whose broker has enrolled into Pearl Certification Network, I can offer the certification to my home sellers at a price of $369. And that would include the visit to the house, the blower door test, and then all of the marketing materials and the certification report. For a homeowner calling us up, kind of out of the blue, the retail rate is $425. So we do give agents an opportunity to provide a discount and that's essentially how it works for a certification meant for the real estate transaction. For the contractors that we work with, because the contractors are typically inputting data that we then QA, the cost for certifications for an individual asset certification, like if I'm just doing, say, a box switch out and I just want to certify that one thing, that's a $19 fee. And then a silver certification to Pearl is $39, and then gold, platinum, and solar are $69. So that's a per transaction fee. And as I mentioned, the home investment plan, contractors can issue as many of those as they want as a part of their network fee. Builders, that's a negotiable fee, and the reason for that is because it depends on HERS rating, no HERS rating, or do you need our marketing, do you want 3D tours for model homes, things like that. So we really like to approach our builder relationships in a more customizable and proposal-like fashion. So, and obviously, volume makes a difference.
Wow, great, and I assume this is all kind of detailed online and people can see all this.
The pricing information, maybe not as much, but for sure, if anyone wants a follow-up conversation or us to put this in writing in an email, please do reach out. Happy to follow up.
Now, on kind of continuing on that question, I really like the idea of what we call continuous improvement. I mean, anyone who owns a home or manages property, it's always continually being improved, and I think the green aspect and the energy efficiency aspect is another level of that. So I always envisioned, and we've had people ask us about this for like LEED, like, well, maybe I'm silver, today, but what if I added some solar in 2 years and I have some money and that bumps me up to gold? How can I recertify? So maybe out of one of those costs you had mentioned, it sounded like if someone wanted to update, there was an ability to do that easily.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that can happen. One, part of our roadmap for this year is, or into the coming year, is to create a consumer-facing portal. And when that is up and running, homeowners who've, let's say I've put in an Energy Star dishwasher, I don't necessarily need to call a contractor out to verify that I have an Energy Star dishwasher. So there would be some DIY options where the homeowner could upload a photo of the model number and the asset in place and be able to update their record for certain things. But so beyond that, yes, as a contractor who's in our network comes into the home, they have an ability to update the record insofar as their trade is concerned. And if a homeowner wants to have all of their assets that they've, because they're putting a house into the market, or they want to get rid of the mortgage insurance, or they're refinancing, whatever the trigger event is for them to want a whole home certification, we can then send a professional out to collect the data at that point and create the certification for them. And yeah, to your point, Brett, I mean, technologies are changing, houses are changing hands. They're not these static things. And I think the labels are great when you have a new home because you're starting from scratch. But 10 years later, that's now an existing home, and what's happened to it in the interim. So how can we help homeowners both represent that house properly as it was built, but then also as it's been improved?
Well, on that note of continuous improvement, I mean, is Pearl potentially, and maybe you don't know the answer now, but how these rating systems undergo a V2. So, typically that means they adjust to new things, but then they also typically get harder. So, for example, I see you're pegged to IECC 2015, but would you, Pearl V2, be pegged to IECC 2018, for example, in the future?
Great question, in part because it underscores one of the problems that the existing label scores and certifications have had, and that is that, a house built to a HERS rating of 65 in 2008 is not the same house built in 2018 at the same number. So while we would seek to avoid that problem, there's a certain point at which net zero is kind of like the end game. And so our approach in thinking this through has been that we may add a layer above platinum, but given that we have 77 million owner-occupied existing homes, we don't want to create a certification system that effectively locks them out from being incentivized to make an improvement or to accrue value to a home from having made improvements. So our solution at the moment is, in thinking forward as houses become better and better, is, well, what is the end game here? And the end game here is a net zero home. So I think, you know, maybe whether it's a platinum zero home or a silver zero home, that and then these other badging systems are going to be our focus, as opposed to redoing a version of the certification.
Great, yeah. And on that question on badges, I was going to ask, do you see yourselves adding like a zero energy capable badge at all?
Yes, yeah. I think that that would be a part of the electrification exploration as we look to build out something like that. Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say, you know, and I know it's rare, but we do see it, especially in these types of green programs, where architects and designers are really driving projects, whether they be new or existing. Can architects, you know, get access to your tool and, you know, design a home or a renovation project to Pearl standards and then be able to sort of hand it off to a builder to go from there?
Yes. Yes, they can. And our initial focus in going to the market with this had been to work with high volume trade contractors, just because they touch so many customers in a year that it was a way to kind of get the brand awareness going and then bring value back to the real estate side, because as I mentioned, we're trying to work with the ecosystem as a whole. So we haven't done a lot of work yet with architects. Our system is certainly open for an architect to get a username and password from us and be able to specify homes like a platinum level home, for example, and we'd be happy to work with them to do that.
Great. And then, you know, on the certification piece, just understanding some of the thresholds here, is that, so the option is comply, at the silver level, comply with the thermal envelope of IEC C2015, which I assume is localized to the climate zone, or simply just install a heating and cooling system that is certified by Energy Star. Am I reading that right?
That is my high level slide deck, you know, overview. It's not quite that simple. The distribution system would factor into the Energy Star or better qualifications for HVAC, and depending upon, you know, again, that particular climate zone, it might be that there's a requirement for that they don't hit the points threshold, that they have to have some other features. We do require an R value. We have an R value minimum for attic insulation that is climate zone specific, just because we don't want a silver certification on a home with no insulation in the attic. So there's a couple of caveats, but just in the interest of keeping things simple for the presentation, I worded it that way.
Okay, no, thanks for elaborating on that. Now, going beyond energy efficiency, you know, is there any extra points or requirements to meet either kind of indoor air quality or durability water management standards in this program?
Develop a water efficiency badge. There would be requirements there, but in the looking at the home performance right now, our lens primarily is through energy efficiency, and then we do award points for ventilation related issues. So is the kitchen and bath vents, you know, directly vented to the outside? What is the filtration that's in place there? You know, any kind of whole house ventilation system earns additional points. And we call out the benefits of these sorts of features in our certification reports, in particular as they tie to indoor air quality and as it relates to asthma and allergies and things like that. So it's not a full-on indoor air quality component in the same way that we would do it when we think about building out a badge for a healthy home, but it is woven into the current home performance certification that we have.
Great. The other question I had was quality assurance. How does quality assurance work? Is it third party? Is there a certain percentage of homes that need to do it? Does somebody physically show up? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure. So with respect to the real estate transaction, given that the certification contractor who comes out is basically a partner with us or a sub to us, we do review online their work, but more in terms of a sampling. There's no hidden motivation for that particular relationship to fudge things. And then, of course, we train our certification contractors. And so, yes, there is some online file review of the real estate certifications. And then on the home improvement or the builder side, we do a sampling of in-home certifications. We do in-person training with those contractors. We have a whole services component of our business that meets with the sales folks and the ownership and the installers. So part of that QA is both around, the installation itself, but also around how that data is represented. So primarily we use the photographs and the information that we have about the model numbers and the data that the contractor inputs to do a fairly thorough file review that is online by a building professional on our staff. And then on a sampling of those homes, we would do on-site visits.
Great. For the green appraisal addendum, that's awesome that you're able to, or at least it seems like you're able to get that completed. Now, the biggest personal experience I've had with that, obviously, is just trying to hand that over to an appraiser and have them do it. And I think you touched on one of the biggest issues that they experience is that lawsuits, right? They, like you said, they adding something that they're not too sure is there. So, they're afraid to do that because of lawsuits or potential lawsuits, not saying it would actually happen. But then it does seem like the other secondary issue that we see is just straight up education. And it seems like the Appraisal Institute has tried to correct that by putting out training and the credential. But is there an expectation that these appraisers who are getting this filled out green appraisal addendum also have the credentials so they, understand how to review it?
Yes, the appraisal addendum is not a magic bullet, to your point. So a couple of things can happen with that being issued is the appraiser can then use the additional data that's on that to find a better set of comparables. So looking for houses that, if I have say a 1990s home, maybe that house is competing on price to a certain extent with newer construction homes that have the same features that this house now has because of upgrades. So, one way that an appraiser might use it, just using the tools that they know and love, would be through better data and access in the MLS. But we include with the appraisal addendum letters to the buyer, the lender, and the appraiser that explain what the certification is, give them links to websites where they can go to get more information, and essentially put them on notice that assigning 0 is assigning an opinion of value, and that has to be backed up in some way. So if you've been given as an appraiser this additional data that documents that this house will cost less to own and operate than other homes, and you're not doing anything with that data, you're not doing your job. And this would then give the parties involved in the transaction grounds to go back to the lender and say, you need to send out an appraiser who is at least experienced in appraising high-performing homes, if not certified to do it. And we're developing more programs as we get into markets to help support appraisers. So we're looking at doing an interview with one of the rock stars from the appraiser community, Sandra Adamatis, to provide some basic starter feedback for agents who might be using our system or using the AI addendum, really. And then we look to partner with associations and contractors in an area to, underwrite an appraiser training so that we can build a bench of certified appraisers in a metro market if the market doesn't already have one. So yeah, it's market transformation in its own way, and while we don't think as a business we have the funding to transform every market from the ground up, we know that we have a role to play in it if we hope to be successful and help our customers be successful.
And on that note, you know, there is a strong movement for the Green Multiple Listing Service, the Green MLS. What role do you play in the Green MLS movement? And, you know, I know one of the problems with it is, you know, the MLSs are controlled by these local consortiums. So anytime there is a Green MLS, it's got different features than the one, you know, down the road in another county. So it seems almost like your program allows a pathway for sort of a standardized Green MLS. Do you see it that way?
I see us taking advantage of and supporting initiatives that were launched by others in the industry around that. So the Real Estate Standards Organization has a data dictionary that includes these Green MLS fields, and they have now issued a certification for multiple listing services like a Silver, Gold, Platinum for how well that MLS complies with the standard. And so there's a big push being led by the Council of MLSs and NAR and RESO to get the MLSs to not only include more of these feature-based fields, but also make sure that the nomenclature is consistent and that it's consistent with the standard so that we can get out of this headache that you've just described. In the interim, we take that headache on internally. So every time we sign up a broker in an area, we work with that broker to understand what are the MLSs that your agents use. So like in New Jersey, Northern New Jersey, our broker hasn't, like they think there's 3 different MLSs that brokerage is tied into in some form or fashion. So we have to tie the address of the sale property to the region that MLS serves and make sure that the MLS listing report we're giving the agent has the right green fields for that MLS. So the heavy lift is coming on our side on behalf of the agent, but we do surface those green fields in that MLS listing report. That's its primary role, is to tell the agent, here's the fields that you should be checking off. And then we educate agents on the Green MLS fields as a part of our agent training when a broker signs on, and we support you know, different trainings through sponsorship as well to help agents get educated on that. And I'm a green designee from NAR, and so am tied into ways to help support green designees. These are agents who have taken a multi-day course to earn a certification from NAR so that they really understand how to sell high-performing homes. And they're great advocates for the kind of work that I'm sure builders and remodelers and contractors are doing who might be listening to this webinar.
Great. What about tying into local energy efficiency rebates? I mean, can your system be set up for contractors so it can be localized? So if somebody's going to be doing a planned improvement, that the rebate kind of comes into play? And then also, you know, I know there's a $500 tax credit at the federal level, which is pretty much locked in stone. I mean, does your system kind of say, hey, you've done enough to meet this $500 tax credit?
At this moment, we have not integrated rebates or credits into the system. When we launch the consumer-facing portal, that will be a component of what we do then. We respect very much the relationships that builders and contractors have with their client base. And so we want to be that third party that they point to for validation or credibility for the information that they're bringing to their clients, but we also want to be careful not to get between them and their clients. So it's a bit of a balancing act, like how do we support and provide credibility, but at the same time not interfere. And you know, not all contractors or builders want to use the credits or the rebates. They may find the data requirements or the QA requirements to use them a bigger lift than they're willing to do. And I know a lot of builders and contractors who will just say, look, I'll discount my fee for the equivalent of that rebate. I just would rather do that than, you know, have to deal with the headache of, you know, this utility's data system. Sad but true. So rather than, you know what I mean? So I think, oh, yeah. At this point, we leave it to the builder or the contractor to manage that aspect of their relationship with the customer. But when we have the consumer-facing portal where we are talking direct to the consumer, then we would want to make them aware of things that were available in their local area that they can use to help offset cost.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. What is the, let's say I'm a contractor, I sign up, what is the sort of expectation of, percent of leads? I mean, is it, 50% projects just by signing up will start coming to them? And then the other expectation is, 50% of the work they need to generate on their own, or is there any kind of percentage expectation there?
I would say no, not at this point. And the reason for that is because the relationships that and the infrastructure that we're developing between brokers and contractors is still in process. So our initial goal was, rather than assume that we know what everybody needs and how they want to work together, we've instead selected a couple of regions with some high-powered, brokers and contractors to pilot this. And so what we've done is we've brought leadership from these companies into a room. We've talked, we've given them an opportunity to get to know each other by doing some Pearl reviews at top producing agents' houses, and now are entering into a dialogue on co-marketing and this lead gen. So our goal initially is to understand where everybody's comfort levels are, and then create value-added marketing tools that contractors can share with their customers that talk about the broker, and that broker can share with their buyers that talk about the contractors, and see how we can get that virtuous cycle rolling. So everybody is like really all in on this. It's been super cool to sit in these meetings and see these different firms get excited about how they can help support each other and grow each other's businesses. But this is a work in progress. So I would be remiss in making promises up front that we're going to deliver X number of leads. What I can tell you, so one of the things we do is we issue an online survey to every homeowner that gets a certification through our system. And we have a 21% response rate to these online surveys, which is a very high response rate. We were surprised that it was so high. And we know that for 25% of those homeowners who responded, the Pearl certification made a significant, not just some, but a significant difference in their decision to go with this contractor and make these upgrades. So we know that this system resonates with consumers. We have the data to prove it. So I think from a contractor's perspective, the lead gen is always of interest, but the easiest way to grow your business is to improve your close rate, right? You've got salespeople out there all the time. So if Pearl can help you boost your close rate, and we have data that says for homeowners it does, let's get started down that road, and then let's start working on the lead gen as our relationship evolves. Wow,
great. Well, Cynthia, we're kind of at our time here, and I don't see any other questions. So I really appreciate your time and taking time out of your schedule to be here with us today. And just real quick, where can people go to get more information or sign up if they're interested?
So online at our website, we have a professionals page off of our main link, and we have information there for agents, builders, and contractors, and a way to contact us if you want more information. As I mentioned, the slide that we're looking at here, Bethany Profaser is our VP of Contractor Sales, and you can reach out to her directly if what you have is a question that's maybe you're a designer or an architect and you don't fit neatly into these three categories. Bethany will get you to the right person, which could potentially be me, to work through how we can be of service to you.
Well, great, Cynthia. Thanks for your time. Thanks for Pearl for being out here. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Take care.
Thank you much, Brett. Appreciate it.